Those of us too far away to attend, what is your interest in Japanese film?
Oh, these are dream questions. Well, yes, film is my lifelong love. I'm always sneaking out at 5 o'clock to go to the movies. I figure if I work all day, I can go to the movies at 5 o'clock. And I love the big screen. Film is it's source of unending pleasure and intense interest to me because of I don't know, a kind of almost like a moral education that I feel I owe as much to film as I do to literature. A portrayal of people, understanding of the world, narrative pleasure, visual pleasure, pleasure of the senses. They're wonderful filmmakers now. Let me think of some filmmakers I particularly like.
Do you tend to choose independence or?
Well, I tend to choose what I like. I mean, I guess in some cases, I suppose they'd be called independents. I mean, I don't have any particular genre that I like. Like one of the American films that I loved the most in recent years was a kind of animated film called Waking Life by a director named Richard Linklater. I think my favorite directors right now are not Americans. I love a Russian director named Alexander Sokurov, who has a film that's playing now called Russian Ark, which is just let me put it this way, I like unique films. I like films that are over the top. I like films that are I guess some people would say very weird. This Sokurov film, for instance, it's 90 minutes long, it's all one shot, and it has 3,000 people in it. It's a one-of-a-kind film. It's not at all typical of his other films. I mean, there are even other films of his I like better, but he's a Russian director. He's absolutely amazing. He's not very well known. This is the first film that's had some kind of breakthrough in theatrical distribution. But you know, the audience for foreign films in this country is relatively small, but then they exist in DVDs and they get shown on, on TV and cable and so on. I love a Hungarian director named Béla Tarr. I love a director from Hong Kong named Wong Kar-wai. I love some Iranian films. Some of those wonderful films the last 10 years have come from Iran. There is a great director named Abbas Kiarostami, whose films I adore. There's a very young woman whose father is a well-known director. Her name is Samira, I believe Samira Makhmalbaf. There is a terrific Taiwanese director named Edward Yang, who did a film called Yi Yi a few years ago. And then I see a lot of films over and over again. The way I read poetry again or look at paintings. I have this series at Japan Film Society, at the Japan Society, which has a wonderful film program of Japanese films. A lot of them are from the 50s and 60s, and I love their humanity and their portraits of sadness and complicated relationships. I guess what I miss in a lot of Hollywood films is just that kind of going inside people. You know, the Hollywood films are so often targeted for a very young audience that's looking for hyper sensations. And sure, I like some of those things too. I also like Japanese anime, you know, that's pure sensation. But I like films for grown-ups, and I like films that you can re-see. In a way, what I feel about films is what I feel about literature, that I don't want to see a movie that I wouldn't want to see again. So I do see a lot of them. If I go out to the movies a lot, I live in a town, New York City, where you can see old movies. You know, you have repertory cinemas. But I think that's true here in Washington, and it's true in a lot of large cities, that there are one or two theaters. I mean, in Chicago, for instance, there's a little cinema tech that's run by Facets Video that shows old films in Berkeley and San Francisco and Los Angeles. And, you know, you can see films everywhere if you want to.
I have a caller from Prescott, Arizona.